I'm Heather, and for my article this week, I chose an article talking about the presidential impeachment trials. I'll just say the title of the article. I believe that will help you equate to how I am going to tie this into Chapter 10, which was the chapter that I was assigned. Where Republican senators stand on Trump's second impeachment trial. So, his impeachment trial, I'm sure all of you are following the news a little bit on it, but if not, I understand also not watching a lot of the news lately. But basically, it was, trying to find Trump guilty or not and see where his play, I guess, into the January 6th Capitol riots and see, where he was and his level of inciting it, I guess you would say. The first thing I would talk about to correlate it with Chapter 10 is page 307, and it describes the post-exit step, the final step in the organizational disengagement process, and describes the process where the organizational members try to make sense of the organization after the person who has exited left. The individual who left will also be making sense of their life after their time with the organization, page 309. I'm going to go ahead and say that Donald Trump is probably having a pretty hard time with all of this. Not only the legal ramifications that he's facing, but just, exiting the way that he did. And he can't be feeling very happy about that, being in the headlines all the time in a negative manner. And then I'm going to go into how some of the senators feel. So one of the Democratic senators, Tim Scott, he thinks that Trump shouldn't be proven guilty. But one of the things that I wanted to equate, because it's kind of people making sense after, them leaving. And in this case, it's a specific thing, but it's just like, it doesn't have to do with the president who said to peacefully protest that shouldn't be proven guilty. And then Dan Sullivan, who's a Democratic senator of Alaska, he's like, we know this is going to be an intense experience regarding watching the videos that were released. And he says, at least it brings back a lot of anger. So I think that people are kind of just going through their feelings of how they feel after that he exited. So another thing, involuntary disengagement takes place when an individual forcibly has to leave the organization, page 305. I feel like the impeachment process is kind of another force of forcibly having to leave the organization because you're losing a lot of the different, I guess you would say, perks that presidents would get afterwards, like, a certain salary and things. And then it's relevant because a lot of the reasons that seemed to be the problems and the incitation of the Capitol riots were because, they thought that the election was rigged and they didn't believe that he should be, he didn't voluntarily disengage, I suppose, as much as it was kind of a force out process. Page 298 talks about how employees will have a hard time living up to unrealistic expectations they have been created by the image they have chosen to create. And I think that I would probably relate that to it because it's kind of just, wanting to stay strong with America and not to, give up or lay down. And I think that was kind of part of Donald Trump's whole appeal, is because he was a fighter and wasn't going to give up and back down. So I think that led to a lot of this. And then I also equated on page 291 the realistic job preview. So the basic premise of a realistic job preview is that new employees often have inaccurate perceptions about the positions for which they are applying. I think that in here I wrote too that you can kind of have illusions of grandeur of how an organization will actually operate. And I feel like I can equate this to it because I think that Trump might have thought he was untouchable and that a lot of the little things that he said wouldn't, have legal ramifications, because when you're president, just looking at all of the people that he pardoned, that's a lot of power to have, and being able to take people's charges away and pardon them and things like that. I feel like it might have given him made him feel like he was a little bit untouchable. So those are my things that I wanted to equate from chapter 10. I will put a link to the article under this.